Hello everyone and welcome back to Jenna Voice. So today's video is going to be part 2 of my health series, if you want to call it. It's probably the shortest series there ever was. There's only 2 videos, but I had a lot to talk about, so I wanted to break it up into 2 parts. And if you have not watched my first video, I would recommend catching that one first. That is kind of my overall health and wellness, how to be healthy for a singer video. And today's video is going to be more on what I do when I'm first starting to notice the signs of getting sick and what I do when I am sick. And like I said in the first video, I'm not a doctor, so you can try any of these things at your own risk. I would always recommend checking with your doctor, even if they're over-the-counter products. But like I said, nothing's a guarantee in preventing or curing sickness or the common cold. So these are just things that I like to use, seem to either shorten the lifespan or the severity of a cold in my experience. So without further ado, here is what I do when I'm starting to feel sick or I get a cold. So first of all, I think the most important way to ward off a cold from starting or getting really bad is to notice the very first warning signs of a cold. And they might be a little bit different for everyone, but for me, what often happens is I start to get this little tickle in the back of my throat, or it just starts to hurt when I swallow all of a sudden, or I get this little bit of a burning sensation. That is usually the first sign for me for a cold, or incessant sneezing, or just a little bit of a cough. Those are usually the onsets of a cold for me. So I think it's really important as a singer to know your body super well and to be able to pick up on any little signs of when something's about to go awry or just isn't normal for your healthy body. So I think one of the most important things to do when you are sick or getting sick is to hydrate. And as a singer, you should already be doing that a lot, but making it like your mission to drink fluids, to drink water, especially. And then there are a couple of other things I like to incorporate in my day-to-day diet when I'm getting sick or am sick. And those things are Emergen-C. I like the little dissolvable packets, so you just put it in a regular glass of water. I will drink honestly like 3 of these a day when I'm sick to try to help flush out my system with good electrolytes and vitamins and minerals. And then if my throat's hurting, I go for the throat coat. Now, I honestly used to hate the taste of throat coat, and I'm sure I'm not alone out there. I'm pretty sure it comes in at least 2 flavors, or flavored or unflavored, I don't know. Anyway, I get the lemon echinacea flavor, and honestly, that has helped me enjoy it more. Also, I add honey to it, so it tastes quite different than if you drink it plain without. So I would recommend that if you don't like the taste of it, try adding honey or maybe milk, I don't know. Test out the waters, because it's a really, really good tea, and it really helps to soothe your throat when it is hurting. And there's nothing worse than the feeling of a painful throat when you swallow. So this really, really helps me. So I recommend it highly, getting throat coat. And it's all natural. It's an herbal tea. So definitely check out throat coat if you have not already. All right, next thing that I like to do is flush out my nose, especially if I'm getting a runny nose, I have a sneezy nose, I have stuff running down the back of my throat, which is probably why it hurts and burns and is painful to swallow. So the way that I clear out my nose is with a Nettie Pot, and I'm sure many of you have heard of the Nettie Pot. There are many different versions of it out there. I got mine just at the drugstore. It's nothing fancy. It's made of plastic. It's transparent, which I like. to make sure you're getting kind of an even amount on both sides when you're using it. The one I got comes with saline packets, or did come with saline packets. I actually used up all the ones that originally came with this, and I've just had to go out and buy more after my last cold that I had. But I've had a really good experience with the Nettie Pot. It can be kind of scary at first, but give it some time. You need to kind of get used to the sensation. It does feel weird, but cleaning that junk out of your nose is seriously so much better than running down the back of your throat, like a lot of it will if you don't get it out of there. So try out the Nettie Pot if you've not already. If you do get it, make sure when you use it to use either purified or distilled water. Do not use tap water while using the Nettie Pot. There have been some horror stories of people who have done that and gotten terrible infections in their head and insane things like that. So take that seriously if you use the Nettie Pot. And then I usually heat up the water a little bit. It should be just like lukewarm, barely. You don't want to get this hot at all because it will burn the inside of your nose. You will feel it, and it shouldn't hurt when you use it. It shouldn't burn at all. So make sure if you heat it up, just to heat it up a little bit, and it honestly helps me so much. It also can help a little bit with sinus pressure. If you're like completely stuffed up, I would recommend getting one of those nasal sprays that help to open up your nasal passages really quickly, because if you completely cannot breathe through your nose, you aren't going to be able to really use this until they open back up, because you need room for the water to flow through. So if air's not getting in, water is probably not going to get in so easy. So play around with that if you need to. The nasal sprays can be a little bit, I don't know if dangerous is the right word. I use them, and I try to use them as sparingly as possible, because I can almost get like just a little bit addicted to them, where my nose just decides that it can't be open unless I use that nasal spray a couple times a day. And luckily I've realized that, so now I use it as little as possible, but just keep that in mind. If you try those, they can be a little dangerous, so be careful. All right, the next thing that I like to do is use my facial steamer. Now this I actually bought a couple of summers ago. I did this program in Colorado, and I honestly got the worst cold or the worst bout of allergies that I've ever experienced, because I pretty much had it the entire program, which was a big bummer. So I ended up picking this up as kind of a natural treatment, and it did help for me ease some of my symptoms. It helps quite a bit with congestion, and it just frankly feels really dang good. And this is just kind of another way to kill bacteria that's sitting up in your nose and the back of your throat. If you do a couple of treatments of this, when I'm really sick, I'll try to do 2 or 3 treatments a day of it, and just sit there until all the water has evaporated up. And yeah, it feels quite good, honestly, to use. And the one that I have in particular, this one by Vicks, it only holds about like 20 minutes worth of a steam. It's not a very long facial steam. I mean, you can add less water if you want it to be shorter. The one thing you need to be careful about this facial steamer is that it's not portable. You really need to be careful and make sure it's on a flat surface and you aren't moving it around while you're using it, because the water can splash out and burn you. And I've done it before, so take my word for it. Please lay it on a flat surface when you use it. I either put it on the floor or a table that's at an easy level for me to lean over for a while. But you need to be wary of that with a steamer like this. Next thing I do, which seems pretty obvious, but you need to get as much rest as possible when you're fighting something off. It's a great way to help you recover. And if you aren't feeling good and you're in school, honestly, just don't go to class. Like, if you feel really nasty and it's the very early onset of a bad cold or whatever, like, you don't you don't want to get your friends sick. They don't want to get sick, so you might as well stay home and do your best to get better as fast as possible. That's a lot more productive than you going to class feeling horrible and not being able to focus or perform at your best, but just staying at home and working on recovering and taking care of your body, because your body is your instrument, so make sure you take care of it. Next thing I do is a little bit of kind of just care for my body, making sure I take at least one hot shower or hot bath every day. It feels incredibly soothing. The steam does the same thing that the facial steamer does, but just having the hot water run over your body is really cleansing and soothing, and just is another way to help release toxins from your body by washing off your skin and just cleaning yourself as much as possible. Well, in a healthy way, of course. And then along with that, of course, washing your hands. As always, wash them a ton, killing germs, making sure you're not putting more germs into your body while you're sick and trying to fight something off. It's only gonna make you sicker longer, so making an extra effort to be really clean. And also, I should use mouthwash more often, but I honestly use it more so when I'm sick, particularly a mouthwash that claims to kill bacteria. If you're able to get that gunk out of your mouth and the back of your throat a couple times a day with mouthwash, I think that's an incredible thing to do. Anything to just help flush the stuff out of your body, really. And I think mouthwash is another great way to do that. So using mouthwash a couple times a day when you're fighting off sickness will help get the stuff out of your body faster. So these are pretty much all of my tips that I have of what I do when I'm sick, and I hope these can be helpful for you. Like I said, always check with your doctor about things before you go ahead if you aren't sure. And I would love to hear about some of the things you use and the practices that you try when you're sick in the comments down below. If you do something different that I didn't mention, I'd love to hear about it. And otherwise, I'll talk to you all very soon. Oh, but make sure, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with more videos like this. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye.